Hey everyone, it's Charlie Morgan here and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be walking you through 4 things that I cannot live without as an agency owner. And these 4 things I can pretty much directly attribute to my success, and without them I'd be fucked, right? And so today I want to share them with you so you can have them and get them and basically succeed. So for those of you who do not know who I am, my name's Charlie. I've built and scaled a marketing agency called NorthFlow Consulting. We've sold over 350 high ticket retainer clients, and now I help other agency owners get more clients as well, because most agency owners struggle to grow and I don't want you to be one of them. So let's hop in. So I'm sure you've seen videos like this before, right? 4 things I can't live without, 3 things I can't live without. If I didn't have this thing, I'd be fucked, right? And what you're probably expecting me to do today is give you the same advice as everybody. What you're probably expecting me to do is to pull off my Oura ring and say, oh yeah, I can't live without this special sleep ring that tracks my sleep. Or, you know, you might be expecting me to pull out my LED lights and say, oh, without my LED lights, my business would be fucked. Or maybe you're expecting me to pull out a Muse headband, like a meditation headband that costs $500 and say, oh yeah, without this, I couldn't run my business. Or maybe it's some fucking lip balm or fucking incense, right? The other thing that I see happen a lot is these bloody things, these speakers, right? So I've got this speaker, and like what you'll see is people will make videos on YouTube and they'll say that they can't live without something like this. And they'll say that if they didn't have a special meditation headband, or if they didn't have their cup of coffee in the morning, or if they didn't have like a real specific pen on their desk, they can't work, or something, some bullshit like that. Now, for those of you who have been watching me for a while, you'll probably know by now that I tend to not give you the same advice as everybody else. And I can tell you now that I can live without incense. I can grow my business without a meditation headband. I don't need LED lights to sleep or work. And I definitely don't need coffee. Right? And I'm not going to throw this because it's actually got liquid in it, and that'll probably make a mess. It'll make a good point, but I'm not going to do it. So what are the 4 things that I can't live without as an agency owner? If I'm chucking out all the shiny objects, well, what is it? Well, obviously it's water, oxygen, shelter, and food. Now, I'm obviously joking, right? But my point here is that what I'm going to do today is give you 4 things that if I didn't have these 4 things, my agency would be fucked, and I wouldn't make any money, and I wouldn't even know where to start. I wouldn't even be able to make this video because I have no idea how to build an agency or actually run one. And so like I'm setting the tone because like you don't need to buy a $500 Bang & Olufsen speaker to work better, right? If you have like, you don't need to have like the latest and most special microphone to, as you can observe by my fucking blue Yeti, whatever it's called, a snowball. Like, what you'll find is that when you buy things like this, they're shiny objects because you think they're going to change your life and completely turn your business around. But all they do is drain your bank account. Now, I've got these things because I've experimented with them, and some of them have actually improved my productivity and helped me make more money. But the worst thing that you can do is buy something like, you know, let's say incense, for example, right? So I like incense, and sometimes I work with incense and they make me more productive because smell is the only sense that bypasses the thalamus in your brain, which means it goes directly to your nervous system. So whatever you're doing when you smell this smell, you're going to associate a positive emotion with. And when you smell this smell, you want to work, right? So incense are quite good. But I see all the time on YouTube and courses and shit like this, is people are like, if I didn't have my incense, I wouldn't be productive. Well, then what happens when you run out of incense? What, you're just going to not work? And I see this all the time where people are like, if I didn't have my morning coffee, there's no way I could work. What you've got to realize is that dependency builds vulnerability, and vulnerability builds weakness, and weakness manifests itself in the way of you making no money, right? And so if you have these things, like, you know, for example, I've got this big monitor here, right? And I've got this little Bob Ross bobblehead that I have on my desk that makes me laugh every time I look at it, because entrepreneurship can get quite lonely, and sometimes you just need a Bob Ross bobblehead to sort of be with you. But my point here is that, like, I've got these cool things. I've got this sort of like special desk, right? So if you can see this here, if I press a button, like it will raise up, and then I can stand up and work, and then I can sort of, you know, it will just raise itself, and then like if I want to stand up, I can stand up. And like what you'll see is a lot of people on YouTube have these fancy things, like these fancy sleek black desks, and you know, these fancy curved monitors and mechanical keyboards. And the truth is that it helps in making you more productive, but it doesn't contribute to the growth of your business, or it does, but very marginally. Right, and I have these things because they're aesthetic and they look nice and they make me feel better when I work, but I don't need them to work. You could stick me in a fucking, like, I don't know, you could take me to the grimiest city in the world in a little computer cafe stuffed between 2 really overweight and sweaty people on a Windows XP computer that was made in 1995 with no coffee, no incense, and no fucking Bang & Olufsen speakers, and I'd still be able to work. Would my work be as good and would I have as good quality and make as much money? Probably not, but I'd still get at it and still work. Now, if you take away things that people think they're dependent on, then they're fucked and they can't actually do any work. And so today, what I'm going to do is give you the 4 things that you actually need, and they're not shiny objects that you can go and buy on Amazon and impulsively purchase. Instead, they are skills, right? They are attributes, they are learned processes and areas of expertise that if you master, you will succeed in spite of anything. And if you master these 4 things and get these 4 skills right, you will never ever have to buy a shiny object again. And if you do, it's just because, well, it looks nice and because it contributes maybe like 0.5% to your productivity. So for example, I've got this keyboard here, right? And it's a mechanical keyboard, and like when I type, I quite like the sound of the typing, right? And so what it does is it just, but when you're changing your environment and trying to improve your environment for work, you just want to find things that make you feel a little bit more satisfied when you do them, or that add a little bit of extra value in terms of how you feel. And so like what you'll notice is in my room here, I've got these really, really big windows, right? And like I've got loads of natural light flooding in from like all angles over here, and I work in front of this stuff. And like I have that because it makes me feel better, but I could live without it and I could work without it. In fact, I built my first agency to multi-6 figures in a fucking shoebox, basically, in an office with no fancy stuff and lighting that made you feel like you're in the dentist, right? So that's the little rant I wanted to get over with. And now what I'm going to do is walk you through the 4 things you actually need. And I'm going to do that on my fancy keyboard and my fancy monitor and my fancy MacBook that you do not need, right? Don't watch a video of someone saying, without these things, I wouldn't be able to live, because all you need to live is water, oxygen, shelter, and food, and obviously a few other bits and pieces. And you can build a multi-6 or even 6 or 7 figure income without shiny objects. You need 4 things. I'm going to walk you through them now.
All right, people. So it's not about chamomile tea or blue light blockers or LED lights or infrared sensors or getting up at 5:30, or it's not about the latest fucking heart rate you're supposed to run on a treadmill or a very specific type of tea bag or a special keyboard or a certain monitor or a fucking Aura ring. None of that matters. It will contribute to your success marginally. But what you can do is, I've seen this before, I've seen entrepreneurs and agency owners who spend thousands and thousands on having all the fancy shit in the world. You walk into their desk and it's like they're the CEO of a multi, 9-figure tech startup or something, and they've got all these mementos and these posters on the wall, and they've got their branded tea mug, and they've got all of these fancy things, and then they don't do anything. They just sit in front of YouTube all day and scroll through stuff, and they're surrounded by these productivity objects that just give them a false sense of security, and they just assume that by buying them they're going to be more successful. And today I'm going to walk you through how to avoid this, or most importantly, we're going to apply some first principles thinking. What are the 4 things you actually cannot live without as an agency owner? And I'm defining live without as like, if you don't have these, you won't grow, because a lack of growth is basically death. So we have a quadrant, right? We've got 4 things. And really, I'm going to keep it quite straightforward, because like these 4 things, they're just skills, right? So the main thing that you need as an agency owner is not it's not any of these shiny objects. It's not a certain brand of clothing or, a certain piece of software, or it's not like a special sleep tracking device or something that, that tracks your, when you sleep, it tracks your snoring or your fucking sleep talking or anything. That's not having the latest Peloton or any of this crap, or eating charcoal before you go to bed, or none of that. None of it matters, right? All that matters as an agency owner is what skills you have. Because I would rather have these 4 skills mastered and be sat in that. So, okay, here's a scenario, right? So let's say you've got person A, right? And you've got person B, right? And person A and person B, right? Now, person A, don't know why I drew him an extra arm, but maybe it's a shiny object. Person A has all of the objects, right? He's the person with the fancy desk, the fancy monitor, and I'm talking to myself here, but if you have the skills and the fancy stuff, it's actually okay because it contributes beyond what you've got. But let's say this person has all of their stuff. They put all their attention into reading Miracle Morning or whatever that fucking book is, or they've read all the books on habits and environmental conditioning, and they've bought these fancy light bulbs, and their room in their office is perfectly lit, and they listen to isochronic tones, and they've got binaural beats in the background, and they sleep with whale noises on, and then one day you put person A in an environment where they can't listen to whale orgasms, and then suddenly they can't fucking work. That's what happens, right? So that's person A, right? Person A has all the objects and no skills, right? So no skills, but all the objects. Person B, right? If you take person B and they have the skills, right? Now let's say person B has no objects and they spend all their time trying to acquire skills. Now I would rather be person B any day of the week. In fact, I would rather be person B even if they only had 25% of the skills you actually needed to succeed. Because skills will always be objects, and objects will always become obsolete once people realise they don't contribute. So what are these skills? Well, it comes down to 4 things. The first thing is the skill of appointment booking. Right? The second skill is closing. The third skill is service delivery. And the last one over here is your mindset. Right? Now, chances are, if you're not where you want to be in your agency, it's because you are missing one of these skills, or probably all 3 or 4 of them, or maybe 2 of them. And by the way, I'm really sorry if it sounds like someone's attacking my city with a chainsaw, because I don't know what they're doing outside. But we've got these 4 skills, right? And really, this is all you need to survive as an entrepreneur, as an agency owner, is you need to have the ability, or the know-how, or the knowledge to book appointments, and then you need to know how to close those appointments. Then you need to know how to deliver on what you've closed, and then you also need to know how to keep your mindset straight. So mindset is a really important one, because what you'll find is if you have your mindset, generally the closing's fine, the appointment booking's fine, and the service delivery is fine. If you can get this right, and you can get your beliefs and your focus and your habit and your character in alignment with what you want, then everything will come like off the back of this. So if I would rather be person B with 25% of the skills and just having mindset right, and mindset is a skill, it's something you can learn. But my point here, like, it really is just to note that, like, if you're not where you want to be, it's not because you haven't got like LED lights. It's not because you don't have an infrared thing that you sit in front of. It's not because you're not, doing a certain hum when you meditate or anything like that. It's because you are lacking one of these 4 crucial and fundamental pillars that drives the success of an agency in the early days. Now, if you really wanted to, you could tag another sort of thing onto this, and we'd have like a sort of sub-skill here, which you could then put as scaling, right? And so, like, the scaling sub-skills, if we come down here, you could probably break them into hiring, management, right? And then you could probably have a few extra ones as well, like systemization. So you just put systems here, and then you could probably have another one, which what will be? I don't really think this is about as fundamental as it gets. Really, hiring is the key one. They're managing those people and building systems around them. So maybe we'll just put this as a question mark for now, because I'm sure I'll kick myself after this because I'll figure something out. But like for the main part, like these are the 4. If you're not where you want to be, it's because you can't book appointments, you can't close appointments, you can't deliver services, or because your mindset's fucked. Chances are, if you can't do this, this, or this, it's because this is fucked. Mindset is the root of everything. So I really wanted just to record this video to help you avoid the mistake of thinking you need all this fancy shit, when really you only need 4 things. And like I said, just imagine me sat in a little dark room somewhere, sandwiched between 2 really greasy and sweaty people, and there's like flies everywhere and mosquitoes all over the place, and it's like 35 degrees, and I'm hunched over with a little Windows PC with a monitor the size of like a fucking, I don't know, iPhone or something. Like, I could still work, and if I had these skills, I could still make money and get success. I probably wouldn't be very happy, right? I probably wouldn't be as productive as I would as if I had all the fancy stuff. But my point here is, like, if you're going to focus on doing the right thing, then build these skills first to a point where you can then start to optimize. Because we don't want to get to one extreme. Everything that I've walked you through in this video, incense, like fancy desks and natural light, they will help you, but they won't help you if you haven't got these 4 things nailed. You have to nail these 4 things first, because anything you put on top of yourself without these 4 things will be completely wasted. Right? You're like, it's just trying to build a house on sand. Someone comes along, they just give it a slight tap, and the whole thing will just completely fall down. Because you build a business on skill set, and this is why you're probably not working, or why your agency is not working. Like, I'm not where I want to be. Okay, well, how do you deliver great results for your clients? I don't know, my media buyer does that. Okay, well, why is the media buyer not doing the work? I don't know, right? You've lost the skill of management, or you've lost the skill of hiring, or you've lost the skill of systems. So everything's your fault, and I mean that with good intentions, because responsibility is the route to liberty, right? And without it, you're fucked. But, take responsibility for these 4 things in your agency. Get rid of all these objects you think you need. Stop spending money on buying fancy books and all this crap. Trust me, I've tried it. I've bought everything under the sun you could possibly think of. And like, what happens after a while is you start to convince yourself that you need these things to work. And then what happens is one day when you wake up and your Oura ring ran out of charge overnight, you freak out and you think, oh, I don't know if I slept well or not, so I don't know what my heart rate variability is, which means I probably shouldn't work today. Like, that's, your brain will start to do that. And laziness and a lack of conscientiousness will manifest as a result of the absence of shiny objects that you think you need to work. Like, I can wake up now if I've got like 3 hours sleep and I can still sit down and work. If I try and do that for more than 2 days, it tends to not work because then I just get exhausted. But, you know, all these things you think you need are really just mirages built by companies to sell you. You just got to look behind the incentives of all these people. You know, you go and watch if you go and watch a video on like, without this I couldn't survive, or without this my business would fail. And then you scroll down to the description and you will find an affiliate link. And that affiliate link will pay that person. And then you've got to think, okay, now I know how incentives work. I probably shouldn't buy this thing because it's probably a shiny object. And I remember some weird dude on the internet in January of 2022 warned me about this, and I'm going to stay away from it. So if I can do that for enough people, I'd be quite happy, man. But that's everything for today's video. Now, the thing is you might then be thinking, well, how do I learn these 4 skills? Now, I'm glad you asked, because we actually have a training program that isn't $997, by the way. And this training program, basically, it teaches you all 4 of these things. It's designed to turn you into a god of appointment booking, a god of closing, a god for service delivery, and also to just create a mindset that's so incredible that you can't even fathom it right now. If you're interested in our program and learning more about how you can develop these skills to actually build a business that works and makes you happy, then in the first link of the description you can click, well, there'll be a link in the first link of the description, you can click it and it will take you through to a funnel. Now right now our calendars are fully booked, and that's not some bullshit, right? If I go over to Calendly here on my mechanical keyboard, what we'll find is that we actually only have one time for February 2022, which is Monday. So all this week we're fully booked. So if you do land on this and there are some more slots, then make sure you grab them, because I'm not even doing this as a scarcity play. Like, we actually have too many discovery calls right now and we're in the process of trying to onboard a sales rep. So if you want to talk to me personally, you can use this link. However, later on down the line, chances are you will be taken through to one of our trusty reps who will have your best interest at heart, and I can still help you in the back end. So that's everything for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to like and comment if you found this useful, and also subscribe, because I release usually 3 of these videos a week and I think they're kind of helpful. So I'll talk to you soon. Have a good day. Take care.